Hey there. You may have heard that ChatGPT, or more specifically, OpenAI, has introduced a series of new interesting features into ChatGPT, notably the ability to use images and this back and forth audio that you could leverage. So you have actual chat conversations with ChatGPT. There's a lot of demos that are out there. There are a lot of like really interesting use cases that people are talking about. But I thought that I would show you something that I built a few months ago that had a lot of that same sort of feature set, at least on the audio side. There's no images involved in what I built. But there are others that have done a similar kind of a thing. So, I mean, I think it was pretty top of mind for a lot of people. The ability to naturally chat verbally has a lot of benefits. But what ChatGPT is releasing is something that is really just baked into their application. And as I understand it, it's only on mobile as well. So you can't even do that on the website. So what I would like to do is just kind of like take that idea, the benefits of some of the back and forth interactions using just speech and show you what that might look like if you're going through APIs, which is what you would likely be doing if you're building something like this into your own products. Right? So let's have a look at what I built here real quick. Now, this is really just a simple React app that I built, and it's actually just running locally here, so it's not out there for other people to use. I won't get into the technical side of this, but what I did is I wired together OpenAI, ChatGPT, language models, Whisper AI to do some text or audio or speech to text, I should say, and then also wired it into ElevenLabs so that I could get the text that is generated from ChatGPT or GPT-4 to stream it to ElevenLabs and assign a voice to it so we can have these actual conversations. So let me just walk through a simple example just to get us started. What I've done here is I've actually included the ability to choose various different contexts. This is not something that we'll see in ChatGPT, unfortunately. You just start talking and it's just that session starting from a blank slate when it comes down to it. What I've done here, though, is prepared different contexts where you might have different conversations. And the reason for that is because I want to give some background information. I want to set the thing up, prime the conversation so that it's not just starting from a blank slate. So I'm going to choose just the first one here, this super rare interview. One thing I will say, in addition to my IT side, my day job, I also do mixed digital media art on the side. Just for reference, if you're interested in any of my art, go over to my website, whackwack.art, just a little plug here, and have a look at what I do. This is all AI plus glitch plus generative art, all kind of baked into one, which is the mixed digital media. And if you're so inclined, on Fridays I do a live stream of me going through some of that work. But anyways, that's not what we're here for. The reason why I mentioned that, though, is because Super Rare is an NFT marketplace. It's a real top tier NFT marketplace at that. And so I thought it would be fun to have an interview with the team from Super Rare. So what I did here is I set up this conversation, defined the reason for having this conversation with these three people, having this interview. Each of these three people have their own backgrounds, have their own story, have their own interests, have their own biases and so on, right? And so I set all these up with these various different personas and then wired those to different voices on ElevenLabs so that I can have this conversation with multiple people. So let's just give this a go and we'll see how it works, right? So super rare, start the conversation. Oops, let me turn this back on. I may have been too slow with that speak. This just allows me to toggle on and off the ElevenLabs. So it looks like I missed my window here. But anyway, let's just see what Sophia says here. Hi, Jeff. Welcome to Super Interview.
Before we get started, I'd like to introduce our team. I'm Sophia, the technology expert. We have James, marketing strategist, and Priya, the art curator and critic.
We're excited to learn more about your art. To kick things off, could you tell us about your creative process and how you come up with ideas for your artwork? All right. So you can see here that because I primed this conversation with these different personas, they fit in the conversation in a very specific way, and they will respond back and forth in their roles. So, for sure. For me, the idea of blending various different technologies together has been something that has always interested me. I've been in IT for the past 27 years. I was an enterprise architect at IBM for a while. I worked at various startups and design agencies, and nudging bits together and seeing what emerges over time. So I'm super happy to go into more of those details, but I appreciate the question. So what's happening here, there is a bit of a lag just because it's translating what I just said, which was a little long-winded, into text, and it's feeding that back to ChatGPT, getting a response back, and then that is going off to ElevenLabs to map Sophia here to a particular voice. Let's see if she comes back.
Thank you for sharing your process, Jeff. It's fascinating how you blend different technologies and art forms to create something unique. As a technology expert, I'm particularly interested in the AI and generative art aspects of your work. Could you dive deeper into how you incorporate these technologies into your artistic process? How do you see them influencing the final outcome of your artwork?
Great question. Something that is somewhat unique. It has a feel of an old school engraving, but again, it's all done through that blend of technologies. So one of the things that is also different about what I've done here from what ChatGPT does is that I have text and audio baked into it. So this gives me the ability to kind of like scroll back and still see what we've been talking about and maybe even reference
Thank you
things.
for the detailed explanation, Jeff. It's impressive how you integrate AI and generative art into your
Seems
process
like
to
Sophia is
generate
sort of
subject
taking over
matter
the
and textures
conversation
reminiscent
here.
of
I
different
don't want to spend too
printmaking
much time
techniques.
on this particular
As a technology
scenario,
expert,
but I just want to
I'm
show
curious about the
how
specific AI
I can
tools or
interact with different
algorithms you
people.
use. Are there any
in this
particular software or
conversation.
platforms that you find most useful for your artistic endeavors? And how do you balance the automated aspects of AI with your own creative input?
That's a really great question, Sophia. That said, I understand that James, you were an artist before you joined Super Rare yourself. I'm wondering how you might answer that question, and then maybe we can riff on, what that means to me versus to you. What do you think? Yeah, there we go, James.
Thanks for bringing me into the conversation, Jeff.
No problem.
You're right. I used to be an artist before joining Super Rare. When it comes to AI tools and algorithms, there are about how much control the artist should have over the algorithms and how much should be left to chance. How do you navigate this balance in your own work?
Yeah, for me, it is in the blending of work that goes into that process. Priya, I know that you work with a lot of traditional collectors. What is your sense for the role of AI in work? How much does that offend people? How much do they understand it or not? I'm curious about your perspective. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this particular conversation, but I just wanted to get Priya to have an opportunity to speak up. Let's see if that works. There she is.
Thank you for bringing me into the conversation, Jeff. In my experience working with traditional collectors, the reception of AEI in artwork has been a mixed bag. Some collectors embrace the use of AI as a novel and innovative approach, while others may feel skeptical or even offended by its inclusion.
Let's end this conversation.
It often depends.
So I think that there's some really interesting other use cases that can be done for here, right? So I also have this AI interview. So one of the things that I thought would be interesting is in preparing for perhaps interviewing at companies that are more focused specifically on AI, maybe I want to practice a little bit. So I've set up this one conversation that is specifically about, oh, I did it again, forgot to speak. Specifically about, doing an interview with an AI expert and seeing if it would give me a little bit of practice. You could also see how this might work for using it for, whoa, what happened here? Little glitch there. Maybe it was because I tried to turn on the speaking. But you could also see how this might work for being able to give actual interviews with people, but speaking to an automated bot when it comes down to it, but in a much more natural way. Likewise, this is something that can be used for conversations between, customer service and customers who are having issues. Maybe ways to do, early sales calls or what have you. You can use it in any context you want. All right, let's just do this one real quick so we can see how Frank speaks. Hey, Jeff, welcome to the interview. I'm Frank, and I'll be conducting the interview today. Before we start, I want to thank you for meeting with us. Can you start by telling us a bit about your background experience in product management? Oh, Jeff, that's curious. For sure. Thanks, Frank, for having me. I really appreciate being here and businesses when it comes down to it. So great to be here with you. Happy to go into all kinds of details. Anyways, so we don't have to go through. Let's just see what Frank has to say. See if he's forgiving. This one takes a little longer because I think the setup that I did was a bit longer. So it has to read this in, which slows down. Come on, Frank, speak up.
Thank you for sharing your background and enthusiasm, Jeff. It's clear that you have a genuine passion for AI and its potential to revolutionize product management and businesses as a whole. With AI technologies and how you approach them from a product management perspective, Jeff.
Yeah, so all right, we're done with that conversation now at this point. But as you can see, you can use something like this to add some really interesting fluid features to various kinds of products. You can use it internally, you can do it externally for your customers or your end users. Maybe it's just something that is baked into a variety of different kinds of platforms. I'm really excited to see what this might look like. But if you imagine the ability of going to a website and just talking to it, or using an app and talking to it, the ability to get that back and forth feedback makes things much more natural and much more human when it comes down to it, even though it's run by a machine. We'll see, how things shake out in terms of how people can continue to, improve on the process for fine-tuning models, making them very specific to very, specific environments, whether it's an app or a website or page or a problem. There's a lot of growth that's happening right now. And when that improves and the ability for humans to be able to interact, I think then we're going to see some real tipping points of usage. So anyways, I appreciate you going through these interviews with me a little bit. I appreciate any comments or questions that you have. Throw it down in the comments, and I will talk to you guys later.